So what got you involved in keeping aquariums? Where did that start for you?
Oh, I should have known. I should have prepared an answer for this one. Normally people say, oh, it started when I was a kid, but it didn't really. I did have an aquarium when I was a kid. Or I thought I did, but every time I tell this story, my dad then comes back and says, no, you didn't. We wouldn't allow you to have an aquarium. So I think I had one, not sure. But then when I got my own house, that was probably the first time I got one. And I had a tank for years, but it was one of those, you have an aquarium, but you're not a fish keeper. You just have a tank that sits in the corner of the room and it grows algae. And then every couple of months, you scrape it all away. It wasn't until I got my first discus that I think I got into it properly, because it was an expensive fish. As a Scotsman, I don't like spending money, so this was a big investment for me. So I was like, right, I'm going to make sure I know how to keep these. And obviously I bought them from a backstreet fish shop, and they were terrible quality and got really sick. So I spent weeks and weeks on the internet researching all the things that you tell people not to do. Research before you buy the fish, not after you buy the fish. But that's what got me into it, because I spent ages on all the forums back then, as it was, asking people questions, just being a sponge, trying to soak up as much information as I could. And then from there, got more and more into discus, then got multiple tank syndrome, and got more and more tanks. And then 15, 20 years later, here we are. Got my own fish room and everything. Yeah. And make videos about fish now. It's just very, very weird.
It's kind of weird when you think about it. People want to watch other people talking about things.
I know.
It's just but we're all united from the same love and the same passion of keeping things in glass boxes, essentially.
Exactly.
I think so, yeah. And it was finding that community of people who were kind of into the same thing without shame. Whereas your normal friends, you'd be like, I'm not going to tell them about all the fish tanks that I've got. I'll just keep that to myself. Yeah. And then obviously, I know, I'll just make videos about myself and put it on the internet. And then that'll tell them.
Yeah, it's a fairly strong theme, the normals and the fish keepers.
The normals, yeah.
People divide between the two, so to speak.
I think it's getting more normal now. I mean, not to maybe the extremes of this and having lots of tanks, but I think it is more normal that people are interested in it as a hobby, especially after lockdown. I found lots of people got into it and just having something to do and something to care for, and bringing a bit of nature inside and all that kind of stuff seemed to maybe make it a little bit more mainstream. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird hobby, because like, if you don't want to tell anyone that you keep fish, nobody in the world will know.
Yeah.
Because it's in your house, and if you don't have people come over, or you've got it in your fish room or whatever, no one will ever know.
Yeah.
Because of the logistics of fish tanks being so big, maybe one event, one expo or two expos a year sort of scenario, compared to like coin shows, which in a suitcase everyone's set up sort of thing. So like, if you don't want people to know you've got fish, you can keep it really quiet compared to other hobbies which go outside and out and about and people see you doing it. So.
Well, I worked for a company for 3 years, just a small business, and it wasn't until about a week before I left that job that I found out my boss had 2 aquariums in his house. I was gutted. I probably wouldn't have handed him a notice in if I knew that.
What got you started or inspired to start your YouTube channel?
Well, the YouTube channel was, I think I'm going into my 10th year of having a YouTube channel. But maybe the first 4 years of that were me uploading the odd video every now and again with a 30-second clip of a fish. So as I could look at it myself 6 months later to see whether it had got bigger, changed colour, changed size, all that kind of stuff. And the thing that triggered it for me was that at some point I got to 300 subscribers. And I wasn't trying to get subscribers. I wasn't doing YouTube. And then I thought, I don't know 300 people. How has this happened? Who are these people that are watching me? And I got all self-conscious about it and kind of stopped for a while. And then thought, oh, well, I suppose I watch other channels about people keeping fish to find out how to do things. So there is something there. And then made the odd video where I actually put in some information, or this is this sort of discus and this is why I'm keeping it like this. And they got a little bit more traction, and then snowball effect. Just ended up getting bigger and bigger and bigger to Yeah, but it was that 300 subscriber thing where I was like, that blows my mind. And then it became a hobby in and of itself. So as much as fish keeping is a hobby, I'm into tech and gadgets and things like that anyway. So it's a bit of a hobby just to try and beat the algorithm every now and again, or learn what makes one video work and another video not work, and see if I can recreate that. But it stopped at the hobby. It's not. I don't think it's ever going to be something that's more than a hobby for me, the YouTube stuff, because I would have to do things so differently to go really big. And majority of my videos are me doing something in my fish room and filming it, rather than, right, let's come up with a plan of something that will go viral. Every now and again, I'll try and think of something that might be a fun video, but the majority of it is man does thing to fish tank and films himself doing it and puts it on the internet. And it kind of works. I can find little spaces in the day or the week to make a video every now and again, so I'll just keep doing it while I do.
The thing is, I mean, you've got to do the work in the aquariums anyway, so why not stick a camera on a tripod and get on with it and then edit it?
Yeah. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that I justify all the fish tanks by saying, well, I have to have things to film. And then I justify the film saying, well, I can't have all these fish tanks and not film them. So, come back in 10 years and I'll have 300 fish tanks.
How was the process for you for recording a video? Is it just all of a sudden, how I'm about to do this, I'm going to set something up, or a little bit of thought the day before kind of scenario?
A bit of both. So I will have ideas every now and again, and I do keep a book down here that when I go, oh, that would be fun, and I write it down, and then they're the kind of videos that get made 6 months later because I never find time to make the effort to make that video. And then there's right, I need to clean out this sump. Yeah, I'll film it and see if I can make that interesting in some way. And they're the ones that take me a couple hours to do the job and to film it, and then maybe a couple hours to edit it and upload it. That can just be churned out almost. The other ones where, the last video I did was I bought a load of crap off Temu and built a fish tank with it. That was something that took a bit of planning because I had to go and buy the stuff and wait for it to arrive and then get it all ready and set up. So I think that kind of works for me, where I have a bit of both of those types. So the process is, I'm a very, very lazy man. So anything that takes too much time or too much effort is going to be difficult to convince me to do it regularly. So it has to be something that I can just kind of do on the side. And it works so far.
As long as it stays enjoyable and it doesn't become something that you depend on being successful. Yeah, because then you got to get out of bed and make videos, whereas right now it's fun and it's hobby and everything works in harmony. So
I think that's a big part of it as well. And a lot of people have said to me that one of the things they like about the channel is that I'm not necessarily pushing it. I'm not going to be the most effervescent guy going, hey guys, welcome. Yeah, this is great. It is very much, this is a thing. And it's when companies are sending me things, I'll often say, this is actually rubbish. And they'll go, how can you say that? They'll never work with you again. Well, don't care. It's fine. Some of the best videos I've had is where I've done that and the company's changed the product. And I think that's the best kind of marketing you can get is, they listened and now it's better. So that's great.
I think if you're being honest in those type of videos, people will believe when you're good, you're bigging up a product, because they'll think, well, he was harsh on that last product, but he's good on this one. So it's honest.
Yeah, and I think it comes across well too. So recently I did one on Fluval's new CO2 thing, and it didn't work. So I had to say it didn't work. Like, they've sent me loads of stuff in the past, but this doesn't work. And they've come back and they've said, oh, yeah, you're right. We'll fix that. Send it back. Let's have a look at it. We'll do some more research. Because they want to make sure they're not sending out rubbish to everyone else.
So we've had someone mention in the chat about your whakapapa.
All right.
And its ability to eat pellets.
Yes, I'm very proud of myself for that one.
How did that come about? Because that can't be the most common claim to fame, per se.
No, so he is my second whakapapa. Easy for me to say. Whakapapa. And the last one that I had got to a fairly decent size, but something went wrong. But it always was a pain to feed because I would having to find a variety of foods with everyone on the internet telling me they were the wrong ones, no matter what it was. Feed mussels, people will tell you not to feed mussels. Feed clams, oh, you don't feed clams. Prawns, no, you can't have prawns. And then the other people will be telling you to go for the other things. I wanted to get pellets because I have pellets and can get easy access to pellets, and I can see on the back of the packet how much nutrition I'm getting in with each pellet, and that'll work. And I wanted hard pellets because I wanted something that would keep their beaks worn down a little bit, so that I could use things like shellfish and clams and prawns and whatever as treats rather than as a staple. And because it was quite hard to use them as a staple, not necessarily hard, but it's a faff if you have to defrost things before you can feed your fish. Whereas if you can just open a packet or a tub and go, there you go, that's a bit easier. And I wanted to do it just mainly for that reason rather than some kind of esoterical, oh, this is the only way you can be doing it. It was, again, my laziness driving me towards wanting to get something that worked and fit my routine.
Cool.
Well, it's obviously
how did that process go for you? How long did that take, and where did that start?
It took a while. It was the same process I've used with lots of fish that I've tried to pellet train, where I got him when he was quite small and he was being fed on chopped up mussel and bloodworm. So when I got him, continued to feed the chopped up worm and chopped up mussel and bloodworm, and then add in a pellet at the same time as feeding every now and again until he accidentally bit it and realised it was food. And then just slowly, and I think it took maybe 2 months before I could completely change, just slowly upping the volume of the pellet and lowering the bloodworms and the mussels until we got to something that we're happy with. I'm now trying to get him back onto things so as when I do put in a clam, he doesn't just stare at it for an hour and go, what's this thing in my tank? So, there are pitfalls for this as well.
What pellet are you feeding it? Or is it multiple now?
A few different ones. The main one I have is the Hikari Cichlid Gold, I think it is, the sinking one. A lot of my fish feed that, and I can get it at volume, so that's kind of one of my staples. Again, I think a variation in diet is more important than product X is the best product, you should only feed this. So I'm not precious about the pellet, it's just what I have at hand.
And it works as well, so...
Yeah. I think the best fish food is a fish food that your fish will eat.
Number one priority.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good it is, if your fish aren't going to eat it, you're
Exactly.
throwing money down the drain straight away.
Yeah, I mean, I will get picky about things like if something disintegrates really quickly or clouds up my tank or just makes a mess, then I'll probably steer away from them in the long term. But other than that, as long as it's got some nutritional value, isn't actually hurting them, I'm going for it.
Yeah, fair call. I once accidentally dropped some Rapashi into a tank full of pea puffers, and I watched them pick at it. From that moment onwards, I was like, cool, I can do this. I've never had it once happen again. You've inspired me to try again.
I think the key for me, and I've done it with lots of fish, is repetition. So once they know it's feeding time, so often when I get a new fish, they're scared of me for a while. So I try not to change anything too quickly, and it's more about a case of going, right, when you see this big lump coming up to your tank, I'm doing nice things. I'm giving you food. Here you go. And then just slowly starting to drop in the things I actually want them to have.
Yep, fair. Yeah. Sure. What are some of the challenges you've had while having the puffer or puffers? Are they a tricky fish to keep, or are they fairly simple, or how's that gone about as far as care goes?
They have been fairly simple. I think I have killed a few, so I should probably qualify that before I start giving advice. I would never be one to give advice on how to keep things, but I've had a Fahaka puffer that I had for years. Loved that fish. I'm a fan of most puffers. I think they're a cool fish to have. No real problems with them until I had a problem and he died. Same with I had big plans to build a big massive fish tank, which I've now done, but I bought a Mabu puffer and he died. Couldn't explain it. Talked to loads and loads of people about what could possibly have been going on, but no, we couldn't explain it. Didn't even get to any kind of size. The biggest challenge I've had with them is you kind of need to dedicate a fairly large tank to them, because they're going to get big and they're going to want a lot of space. So when you want to keep lots of fish, it's quite the commitment to say, right, I'm going to keep this 5-foot tank for nothing other than this thing that's this size at the moment, but is going to grow to this size.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest challenge. And speaking to folk that work in fish shops and things, that's what they get a lot of, people bringing them in going, I bought this when it was only 3 inches long, and now look at the size of it. I've not got a big enough tank for this. You have it.
Yeah, that's definitely something I personally struggle with, is one big fish in a big tank. I want to put lots of little fish in a big tank.
Yeah.
Or lots of medium-sized fish in a big tank. So, like, when I see people that have got bigger individual fish in big tanks, I can understand the discipline that goes into not want to go, I want to change this. Maybe I could have gone with something else as well. So,
yeah, there's also definitely a case of buyer's remorse when you say, right, I am going to put that 5-foot fish tank, and that is going to be for the Wahaka, and then someone says, oh, do you want this group of X and Y? And you're like, oh, if only I had.
It's always about 3 weeks later as well.
Yeah.
Why didn't you talk to me 3 weeks ago? There's a totally different conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like to have the mix. So obviously I've got a community tank with medium-y fish. I've got individual fish in big tanks. I've got a big tank with lots of big fish. And the next thing I probably do will be a big tank with lots of little fish. So I'm not a monster fish guy or a nano tank guy. I'm a bit of everything guy, I think.
An equal opportunist fish keeper, as one of our previous guests coined.
I'll take that moniker as well. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic when you first said it.
Yeah.
Have you had much experience with pea puffers?
Yeah, I have kept them over the years. I've never managed to keep them for a long time. I've kept them and I have bred them before. No, I have kept them while they have produced babies. I was very much not involved in the process at all. It just kind of happened. But yeah, I do like them. I just don't. They're not on the radar for the moment, though.
Any thoughts on keeping them in community tanks, as Rochelle's just asked?
Well, lots of people will say anything with flowing fins or dangly bits, a pea puffer will see that as a potential meal. I kept them with things like otocinclus and coolie loaches and even shrimp. If you have a nice densely planted tank, a population of shrimp seems to do quite well. They will pick off the odd shrimplet, but that always worked fairly well with me. But I have no experience of trying them with the other things, because why risk it? So I'm not an expert. I don't know.
I've had success with them with Rasporas.
All right.
And Ember Tetras as well. But
yeah.
I thought otocinclus would always be a pretty good option with them. Never really thought about coolie loaches, but that kind of makes sense. Different parts of the water column, coolie loaches are ridiculously good at hiding a million of them in a tiny little cave. So,
plus, I think the coolie loaches make so much movement when if they panic, they just go, and the puffers don't like that. Peas, they just freak out at that.
I've always found the pea puffers especially are very much, even when you're literally dangling something for them to eat, they'll take a good 30 seconds to size it up and go, is that food? No, I'm not sure. And if your fish is fast enough to get out of the way, then you're okay.
Yeah. If there was ever a fish that's a candidate to wear glasses, it's a pea puffer.
Yeah.
They just look like they should have their glasses on.
I very much agree with you when you're basically saying the gremlins come out. And it doesn't matter how often you tidy your fish room and you say to yourself, I'm never going to let this happen again.
Yeah.
3 days later, it's happened again, and you're tidying up again and go, I'm never going to do this again. I'm going to put stuff back. Doesn't matter what the intentions are. It just happens like that.
Every now and again, I'll go around and I'll make a plan and I'll say, I'm going to put one of those big metal hooks up there and I can hang things on that hook. And it's full. I've hung many things on the hook, but there's still crap all over the floor. I'm like, where did this all come from? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, I went upstairs earlier to sort dinner out for the kids, and came back in here for this, and looked at the floor and went, right, someone's messing with me. Someone's come down here and tossed everything all over the floor. It just gremlins.
Yeah, it's because you've got shiny things to distract yourself with every time. So like, you just put a container of food down, and I'm going to put it back where it lives. But oh look, wow, what are they doing? And then you hand and you just walk away from it.
Yeah, I've got like algae scrapers. I think I must own about 300 of them, but I can only ever find one at a time, and then I lose that immediately. All that kind of stuff. It's in my nature to be messy, as well, as I'm sure my wife would tell you if she was here, but it doesn't help when it's got all the gremlins helping you be messy.
I'll tell you a story. I stopped off in a Pets at Home today to pick up some things for my daughter's gecko, and they've recently changed all their aquarium setups. So now, instead of having that black gravel, which was fine, what they've now got is bare bottom tanks, but with the image of gravel. So it's like an aquarium back, the backdrop, but on the base. So it looks like gravel, but it's not. And what makes it really suck is they've went with really rubbish rainbow gravel.
Oh, lovely. Clown puke.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. I was just about to say, I really don't care what the tank looks like for a working aquarium, as long as it doesn't have rainbow gravel on it, I'm okay.
I mean, it's not like multicolored, but it's blue and red, and it's just, I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, I get the fact that in a shop, for instance, it's an extra job if your tank has a substrate to clean that tank, especially when you're trying to cycle through lots of deliveries and things like that.
Yeah.
A bare bottom tank can be stripped, cleaned, and repurposed fairly quickly, where one that's scaped nicely and has a substrate and all that is a little bit more of a challenge. So I kind of get that, but the clown flute gravel,
I know.
why would you go for that?
I'd just like to caveat that a little bit. If it's your aquarium in your house and you like the rainbow gravel, then that's all good. As long as you're enjoying it, that's the main thing. It's just definitely not for me, and clearly not for you guys either.
Yeah, I'd like to counter that caveat by saying, no, you're wrong. Change it.
Just straight wrong.
It should be banned. It broke my heart to when I said my daughter has a fish tank. We went round to one of the fish shops, and she was looking at the gravel, and there was this luminous neon pink gravel, and she's going, "Dad, Dad, Dad," and I'm going, "Can't hear you." But she now has luminous pink gravel in the bottom of her aquarium.
Doesn't
Like you
make you
say,
happy?
if she's happy, then I'm happy.
What
Yeah,
fish does she got?
Sorry?
What kind of fish does she have?
Just some guppies at the moment.
Right.
And if clown gravel is the way that she gets into the hobby for life, then who are we to judge on that?
Yeah,
so to speak?
exactly. So
It's gateway gravel.
gateway gravel. It's a gateway gravel. That's it.
Gateway gravel.